All right, I am back. Today we're going to talk about how people are lying about Amazon, and you might even be one of them and not know it. Okay. So I'm going to clarify a bunch of misinformation. I'm also going to explain some of the information that is correct, but is being explained in a poor way that's eliciting a lot of fear in readers and authors. And so, as someone who's been in this industry since 2013, I published my first book on Amazon in March of 2013. I've seen all of the different iterations of the platform. I've seen systems come and go, like Kindle Worlds and Kindle Vella, and I was around before there was KU. So I've been around for a long time. And so, because of that, with the terminology that is in these like legal things, when you have that context of how things have changed, I feel like it kind of helps you to understand more, because when you don't have it, and there's already been so many updates before that where you did get deeper clarification on what things meant, they then kind of don't include those clarifications later on because they just assume you already know what they're talking about. And they're just kind of like adding one little caveat here. And so I want to help give everyone a little bit of peace. Okay. If you watched my last video, which I literally just stopped and then titled this one and pushed go. If you watched the last video, I talk about wanting to have more freedom, and freedom meaning being able to be authentic, being able to use my feelings in a way that are constructive rather than destructive, and like not letting people give me the fear response, the fight or flight response every time they say something that's either inaccurate or that I don't like. And just, I want to use this channel to be able to give all of us a little bit of peace at the end of the day. So I think that that's what I want this channel to be from now on. So a lot of it is going to be talky stuff. It's going to be me bringing up things that I'm seeing in the author world, some controversies that are happening that you readers might not even be aware of, and also things that I'm seeing from readers. And we're talking about positive and negative things, as well as even positive actions that are causing negative consequences to authors. And so I want to talk about all of that. If y'all have any things that you've been seeing on the internet where you're like, wow, I would really like to have some perspective on this from a longtime author, who's also a very avid reader. So yeah, that's what I'm here to do. And today we're going to be talking about the changes with Amazon. I put that in quotes because most of this is not really a change. And that's part of the problem with the misinformation. But yeah, there's been some very, very big booktubers that have been talking about this. And some of them are even authors as well. And what I think is happening from the videos that I like watched today is that they haven't been around as long, and so they're not actually understanding some of this, and so they're making assumptions that are just inaccurate. So it's not that they're trying to spread misinformation, they just happen to be spreading misinformation. So anyway, let's get into this. I will have a document for you because I have this as a Google Doc. So I will have a document where you can read along to this. Actually, I can just do a screen share. How about that? I have to pull it up on this computer, so it's going to take me just a minute to pull it up, and then I will do the screen share so that you can actually see the documents yourself. I'm going to read from them, but I'm also going to explain some of this and maybe why people are scared, and also the resolutions that are not helpful and they're actually going to harm a lot of indie authors in particular. So let's go on my Google Drive and say recent because I literally just pulled it up. There we go. All right. Just got to do my little share screen and we'll get started. Okay. So I am an author who uses Amazon. I publish my books wide now. So I'm not coming at this from a like, everybody, KU is the best standpoint, because I'm not in KU. All right. Oh wait, I want to do no, that's fine. Okay. Making sure it's going to share. Okay. Here we go. So I won't be able to see your comments right away since I'm looking through the document, but as you can see, this was last updated in September 27th, 2024. So things are not new. The things that people are saying are new have always been the case. There's some things that are new, and I did check and I saw they're not in the terms, but it doesn't really change much. And the things that it did change, you never should have had the ability to do anyway. So we're gonna go into there. All right. There's a lot to this. I'm not really sure how much readers versus authors are going to want to know. I did separate it. So the yellow stuff is very specific to authors, and then the green is specific to readers. But honestly, one of the discussions that I saw today was talking about it was some of the author perspective. And there was some misinformation in that as well. And some readers are very concerned about how Amazon affects authors and how their terms of services may be too restrictive and stuff. And so I think I will just go ahead and go in order so that you have the full context. This is coming directly from their site, Kindle Direct Publishing Terms and Conditions. Some of the stuff later I gathered from the digital book pricing page, which you can find here. Also the print book pricing page and all these other links that are on here. And then a couple of the like forum stuff I pulled from, trying to cover all my bases on what's going on. All right. So number one, agreement of acceptance. If you don't accept the terms, you are not entitled to use the program, and you must immediately withdraw your books from further distribution through the program and terminate your use of the program. So this is something that's, strict, but also every corporation would have you agree to the same clause, that you have to agree to their terms and services. They are hosting your product. You're in their house. You are a guest. It's expected. It's not, we don't need to fear everything. And like, before everyone comes at Amazon and boycotts Amazon, go look at the terms and services for the other publishing companies. I haven't looked at them thoroughly. I have published through them, but I haven't looked at them thoroughly. But I would assume that almost everything in here is going to be exactly the same, just with different company names and some different programs, because it's legal protection for their business where they do not face liability. That's all that this is. Okay. For changes to terms of services when it comes to royalties or grants of rights, we'll give you notice of the changes by 2 or more of the foregoing methods, which are the ones that are up here. So it's not just going to come and you not know about it, but you are responsible for checking on your own. All right. Changes to terms of this agreement, other than those contained in those sections that we just mentioned, are effective on the date we post or send the changes. So those are going to be quick changes. But again, the one thing that authors need to be concerned about is the royalties is going to be the only one that's really going to be something that would super impact you. So the other ones would be like minor changes. I would not stress. Changes to terms of this agreement will be effective and binding 30 days from the date of posting or on the date that you accept the changes and set forth We're entitled to terminate this agreement and your access to your program account, or suspend your program account at any time if we have concerns with your account or activity relating to your account, or if you are in breach of applicable laws or this agreement. We will notify you upon termination and will provide instructions regarding how to appeal that termination if you believe it is an error. You're entitled to terminate at any time by providing us notice of termination, in which event we will cease selling your digital books and on-demand printings of your books within 5 business days from the date you provide us notice of termination. We may continue to sell any inventory we have of your print books. Following termination or suspension, we may fulfill any customer orders for your books pending as of the date of termination or suspension. Okay. So, yes, they can terminate your account. Yes, this has happened to authors before. A lot of the times it is because the author was doing something that they were not supposed to be doing. They were going against the terms of service. They didn't take the time to read this and see what they were actually allowed or not allowed to do. And so instead of taking responsibility for it, they go on the internet and they complain, "Oh, I didn't know." Or I knew, but such and such author does this or everybody does this. So like, why are they holding me accountable and shutting down my account when they're not doing it to these big money makers? Like inequality is a thing. Things happen that are not fair, but at the end of the day, they're just holding up their end of the agreement and they've already told you what they're going to do if you don't follow their rules. So if you don't follow them, can't really go blaming anybody else. Unjust, yes. Feel the anger. It's an emotion. But, can't really do anything about it. But there are times that authors have had their accounts terminated where it was of no fault of their own. Um, this can be if say they're in KU or something and their books are on pirating sites. Or say someone is just a really, really bad person. And so they go after a small indie author and say, oh, this person doesn't have distribution or copyright. I do. And then the author's account gets paused for there to be an investigation. And if they only have the poor man copyright and they didn't pay for the copyright through like the copyright office and stuff, to certify that the book was theirs, and there needs to be an actual lawsuit that goes forward in order to determine like who gets royalties and who has the rights. That could end their career. So like, yes, Amazon is very strict. Yeah, it can seem very unfair, very unjust, especially when something happens to you and it's not your fault. But I don't think that when it comes to people that are doing things right, there's not going to be many instances where that happens. And when it does, there's usually authors who have a direct contact with someone with Amazon support, like an insider who could look into your account and get it restored. I've seen that happen before with some authors. They tell someone that they know, which is why it's important to network. They tell someone in their network, hey, this is what's happening. And then that person has someone in that area, a human, that they can talk to person and try to get it resolved. So, and there's always other methods that you can use if the worst did happen and yours got terminated through no fault of your own. There are also times where an author's account gets terminated because of a reader's actions. And so that's why I have this part. I have more stuff to come when it comes to how readers can be making authors lose their account through no fault of their own. And also manipulative practices that authors themselves do or encourage their readers to do. That is the reason why they're getting their accounts terminated or suspended. So we're going to get into that. We may continue to maintain digital copies of your digital book in order to provide continuing access to or re-downloads of your digital books, as well as digital copies of your books to support customers who have purchased a book prior to termination or suspension. All rights to digital books acquired by consumers will survive termination. So this is one of the biggest lies that people have been saying about Amazon, which is that if an author decides that they're fed up with Bezos, they don't want to have their books in Amazon, and they take them all down and they go somewhere else, that if you've purchased their book, you will no longer be able to access it or read it. And that is unequivocally false. Here's your facts. All digital books acquired by customers will survive termination. So even if they remove the author, the books that customers have bought will still remain. So if you didn't hop on board with the frenzy to download all your books, I don't think that you should be too concerned. All right. Here's some things that an author might want to be aware of. Some of this I didn't really know until I was looking through it. We may disclose your legal name and contact information in accordance with the terms of our privacy notice, including to comply with law or protect the rights of Amazon, our users, or others, regardless of what you enter as your author name. You maintain only one account at a time. If we terminate your account, you will not establish a new account. You will not use false identities or impersonate any other person or use a username or password you are not authorized to use. So with this, I wanted to point it out because some people do use pen names. And like if someone did try to falsely claim that they did not have the rights to that book, and then they wanted to pursue a case, it seems like maybe Amazon will be able to disclose your personal contact information in order for that person to be able to start a suit. But I am not a lawyer. What I will also say, though, is that if you have a registered business, like an LLC, like I do, anyone can look up that LLC and find out the owner of it. And that is how a lot of people have been outed and their real identities given. What you can do if you absolutely do not want someone to know your name, to not be able to easily find it because they can, you would need to go through like some sort of other person, like a legal entity or whatever, and like them be the person that's listed. I don't really know all the nuances of that. I've been in this industry for a very long time, so I know people that have done things like that or gotten a PO box registered to a different state so someone wouldn't know where they were located. Like there's lots of complex things in the author world, but moving on. You are solely responsible for safeguarding and maintaining confidentiality of your account username and password, and are responsible for all activities that occur under your account, whether or not you have authorized those activities. Basically, all they're saying is, hey, if you get hacked, we're not liable. We can't really know whether you did the thing we're getting rid of your account for. So we're just going to not give you the benefit of the doubt. And you're screwed. You are responsible and may be held liable for losses incurred by Amazon due to any such activities. You may not permit any third party to use the program through your account and will not use the account of any third party. Your acceptance of this agreement includes and is on behalf of any other party who uses the program under or in connection with your account, such as an employee or contractor. You agree to immediately notify Amazon of any unauthorized use of your username, password, and account. So there are people who have PAs. I'm a personal assistant to other authors who have access to either their ads account or their actual author platform. They go in, they upload their books. They do all the management of the like actual publishing of the book for the author so that the author can focus on writing. I don't currently have any clients that I do this for. But all it's saying is like, hey, at the end of the day, anyone that you give your username and password to, whether it was under certain conditions and they were only supposed to take certain actions, whether that was the case or not, if it's something screwed up, you're the one that's going to pay. All right. Delivery. You are responsible for retaining your own copy of any material provided to us, as we will not return to you any electronic files or physical content or media you deliver to us in connection with the program. This I think is mostly for what I am thinking it is from. So a lot of indie authors, especially back in the day when it was a new thing and there was still a huge stigma, a lot of us did not have professional editors. And so when the books started to sell, readers would point out errors, or authors would make enough money to then invest in an editor, or they would take the feedback from the reviews and improve and expand their story and upload new versions. And so let's say that you uploaded a new version and for some reason that was your only copy of the previous version. And then you're like, oh no, I need the previous version for whatever reason. They're like, oh, sorry, I don't have it anymore. We just have your updated one. I think that that's what they're saying, is that they're not necessarily going to hold on to your own files if you've updated a book. Because why? It would take up more space in their database for them to hold on to that. Okay. Content requirements. You must ensure that all book content is in compliance with our program policies for content at the time you submit it to us, because the content requirements do change. And if they do, and your book no longer complies, you must immediately withdraw the content by unpublishing it or by republishing content that complies through the program procedures for book withdrawal or republishing. So this one's a little bit scary when it comes to with Trump in office and some of the Project 2025 plans. Whether you're Republican or not, you need to face facts. The 2025 plans and the things that he has been passing, they line up. So you can say he has nothing to do with 2025 all you want. He's showing you that he does. And if he doesn't, JD Vance is vocal about it. He says the things, the scary things. Trump denies, Vance just says it. So like, yeah, I would not be surprised if they try to make some really restrictive things on erotica, for instance. That's the big one. Probably mostly erotica, but it could also affect any romance book that has explicit sex, because that could fall under to like lewd or like pornography. And what it is not necessarily that Amazon would have a problem, but now we know Bezos is in league with Trump. Like, he was there. All the other rich guys, wasn't he? I think so. I'm not 100%. I feel like he was there. I feel like he was there at the inauguration. Not 100% though. So like, allegedly. Anyway, what it would be, most likely what would happen is it would be the financial companies that people bank with or that handle transactions would put into their terms of service that they will not like do payments for pornographic material. So that is how it would wind up affecting more. If you're an author and you write erotica or romance that has a bunch of steam and you're like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do if all of the payment companies, not just Amazon, but like payment companies in general, like Visa or Stripe, what if they all of a sudden decide, because of these legal ramifications, we just don't want to deal with possibly, getting in trouble with the law. We're just not going to process payments for anything like that. What you can do is, there is a site called Ream Stories. I'm on there. It is like a Patreon that had a baby with Wattpad. It's really good for authors. They are integrating a system of a la carte as well. So it's a subscription service where you have access and you can read books the same way that you would on Wattpad. But they're integrating a la carte sales so that authors can start to kind of use it as their own digital storefront, or even do like special editions and prints. And they've already got audiobooks and they've been working on the comic book stuff too. So like, it is the new and improved thing. The reason why I mentioned them specifically, and there has been some controversy with one of the creators kind of got ousted a while ago. And so a lot of authors left the platform. But the reason why I mention them is because their creator is an erotica romance author. And they have said that if it does happen where Stripe, which is the one that they use for their sales, if it happens that they can no longer make those sort of transactions, they will switch to a company that will, or create one. And so it is a newer platform. It's been around for, I would say, 2 years now, coming on 2 years. I've been on there for about a year. And so, yeah, if you want to do that, you could do that. If you want to own your books, because people have been talking about this, they don't like that they don't own their books. Technically, you don't own anything digital. And the reason why you don't own anything digital is because if the site, like the servers that the company stores the data on to go to the internet, if the company goes down, they don't have the money to pay for the servers that hold the data, and therefore you would lose access. If they did not have that clause in there that you are having a temporary like license to access, then they are committing to forever, indefinitely, to the end of time, having those servers available in order for you to be able to read your books. It sucks, yes, but as a company, from a business standpoint, it is the only way that they can do digital. um, in the current sphere of how they deliver ebooks. This is something that there are things happening in the works that could change this. There is book.io. They're also extremely new. Hardly anyone knows about them. They have like encrypted books. And so your individual book, your individual ebook has like its own coding. And so when you go in to open your ebook, it pulls parts of your book from different places and then puts it together. Like each time you're opening it, it's like pulling from these different places. And so even if Book.io goes under, and I've talked to the people that made Book.io, so this is how I know this, because I'm an author. I go to author conferences. I learn things that you don't know if you're not in the industry. And I asked, I was like, what happens if your company goes under? Can people still access the books? And they said yes, because the places where they're pulling the data from, they'll still work somehow. It's very, very confusing. If anyone is like an IT person, they could probably explain it, but that's how that goes. This is also a platform where authors can create their own supply and demand by limiting the amount of digital copies that can be sold with like a specific book cover. They can also offer multiple book covers for their ebook. Some of this does have AI integration where there'll be like 25 different versions, and like those are AI covers. So depending on what you think about that, you may or may not like it. Authors do not have to have that portion with like AI covers and stuff to make all these editions. They don't have to do that. But also, because your book is like an encryption and it's very specific, and this is the same thing with the you can also do a print that has your number, and your print book will be like 001. You can also resell your ebooks. So if you get an ebook and you don't like it, you can resell it. Because there's only a limited number of that edition. So the limited supply, you put it back into the system, someone buys from that to get that specific edition. So you can sell your ebooks. So that, as of now, is the only way to own your ebooks in a way that is safe for authors to put their books out there. Why I say that is because people are mad right now because they can no longer go on Amazon into their managed content and devices and download the individual books in a like raw format in order to convert it into whatever file they want and then put it onto their device. Controversial stance for me, but I'm just going to say it as an author and as a reader who has observed piracy, book piracy, and how people are able to easily pirate books. You as a reader never should have had the ability to download a raw file of an author's work, because that is what gets uploaded to the pirating sites. And so the authors don't make money from it. So DRM, which is like digital rights management, has been an option from the beginning, as far as I can remember, at least since 2015, because I don't think that I understood what DRM was until then. And I did have a friend tell me what it was then. And so DRM is something that is supposed to help prevent people from being able to like get the raw file from like your EPUB or something. it's supposed to be able to prevent it and make it to where they can download it on their other devices or pirate it and stuff. Some authors choose not to enable DRM because they want you to be able to access it on whatever device you want. And I understand that. But at the same time, when you don't have DRM, it does make it easier for the bad players to put it on the pirating site. So my personal thing is that I don't like that people pirate books, but I do understand the nuances of it. I don't think that it's justified. And I think that a lot of people are just making excuses and they have a sense of entitlement, and that's just the truth. And we can get into a different video about that, and I can go further and explain and whatever. But who I detest is not the person that's pirating. The person that I detest is the person that's putting it on the pirating site. They're the ones that I find to be immoral and despicable, not the ones who are pirating the books. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like everyone gets to have their own standards of morality, their own standard of what they see to be ethical, not ethical. It's like the end justifies the means debate too. Like, people can think of things in that term. I don't want to judge the nuances of every individual person because I want to be able to have my own morality standards and judgments. But also, I feel like we need to stop being hypocrites and having one standard for one thing for a certain reason, like say lack of privilege, and then not applying it to other areas where other people, lack privilege in that area. And so you can't say, oh, because of this lack, we can justify this, but we're not going to justify this, even though it's the same exact argument for two separate things. I don't like that, because that to me is a false belief. You don't really believe the thing. It's just that one benefits you to adapt that belief and the other one doesn't. Or it benefits you to go against it because that's the popular narrative and you think you'll be more liked by going against it. I'm not really sure. To me, that's immaturity. I think that it's okay. Not okay. It's not okay. Okay. Facts are facts. That's what I think. Facts are facts. If you're pirating a book, you are stealing. That's a fact. It doesn't matter what the reason is. If you steal a loaf of bread because you're starving to death, you're still stealing. Am I going to think that you're a bad person because you stole a loaf of bread because you're starving? No. That's my own moral judgment on the action. But the action itself is still always going to be stealing. You took something that did not belong to you. So when you pirate books, you are stealing. That's a fact. That doesn't mean I have to hate on you for it. That doesn't mean I have to judge you for it. But I think that we need to apply the same standards. So, factually, if you're pirating, you're stealing. And so I don't think that we need to say that it's not and try to beat around the bush. Say, hey, piracy is stealing. But I can also have the nuance and understand that some people really are disadvantaged in certain ways, and that's why they turn to this. But facts are still facts. It's still theft. So let's not call it anything other than what it is. Yeah, there's a whole lot that I could go into with the pirating. A whole lot. I think that one of the things that people don't talk about when it comes to the pirating is that the privilege thing in specifically talking about books. Okay, when we're talking about theft and we're talking about books, the digital content. All right, we're not talking about the starving person stealing bread. All right, food. That is something that you need to survive. Books are not. With that being said, you could say, hey, I think that literature is a human right. I do too. I want everyone to have access to that. That's great. What is not a human right is being able to have access to everything just because you want it. So let's not say that because I'm disadvantaged in some way, it's okay for me to do this. You can think that, but let's stop promoting that and making that an excuse, because when you really look at it, it's an entitlement of, I feel like I am missing out because other people are able to consume this material, and I want to be a part of that community that gets to consume this specific book. And so I don't think it's fair that they get it and I don't get it. And so I'll pirate it and it's okay because it's not fair. Okay, I understand that. That's how you feel. Um, but it is a specific book, because if your argument was really that being able to read is a human right, there are ways that you can do that without pirating books. There's plenty of available free books. If you have access to the internet, you have access to reading. So like, let's not lie. Okay, let's not lie. It's just that you want a specific book, and your want of that book, or your want of feeling connected, and we really, right now, I'm really talking about fiction, but this really applies to everything. But with fiction, there's no other more nuance that you could say with, like, oh well, what if someone is pirating an $80 medical book so that they can save lives? Okay, that to me would make my own morality compass would shift a little bit, like it would with someone starving doing bread. But you get to make your own little parameters and stuff, but we're just going with this for the example, because when it comes to fiction books, no, you do not need a specific book. That is just you feeling entitled to it, entitled to experience that specific thing. When it comes down to it, what you are doing, the decision that you are making, you get to determine whether it is right or wrong for yourself. I'm not going to get on my mental high horse and be a hypocrite, because I make my own mental and moral decisions in different areas of my life that others would not agree with. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. All I'm asking is that the rest of us stop being hypocrites and start being honest with ourselves. So it is not I am underprivileged, this is how I rectify the situation. It is, I feel entitled, I'm missing out, I don't like feeling like this. And so that to me is a worse injustice than me stealing from this author. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to try to talk around it. And we're just, at the end of the day, you just don't care about authors. If you're stealing you don't care. It's okay to admit that. It's okay. It's okay to admit it. Okay. Furthermore, because we're just really diving into this pirating. Furthermore, because I've seen specifically people talking about, if an author's book is only in KU, either only in KU and they don't have KU, or only in digital format, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to pirate it because I don't own it. So if I don't own it, I'm not stealing. That's not true. All right. Digital content, okay, that's not physical. You don't own any of it. So you are buying the experience. When you go to a movie theater and watch a movie, you are paying for the experience of watching it that one time. All right. Same thing with your digital content. If you buy a video game, it is a physical disc a lot of times, like, whatever, or however it goes. There's been lots of different game systems, but like, if you buy a video game, there are some of them that have online aspects, and when the company no longer has enough interest in the game to continue providing updates that will prevent glitches, or they don't want to spend the money to maintain the service, then you lose access to that feature. And yes, that feature was part of the selling point that made you want to buy the item, and it sucks as a consumer. It is okay to recognize, hey, this freaking sucks. Like, this is not fair, but you still got to remove yourself from your own feelings of injustice and look at the facts of the matter. If this is a business making a business decision, it is the right decision for their business. Let's not, let it affect everything and justify other stuff that I'm doing that's wrong because I don't like what's happening to me. All right, there's other ways that we can talk about it and discuss it with facts and not just the feelings. Which I hate saying that because I think at first it was the liberals that said facts over feelings, and then now it's the Republicans that say facts over feelings, and people are saying touch grass. I'm like, I think it's all stupid. Let's just stop using sayings to group people into one area that we don't agree with, because it just makes us all look stupid. It makes us look like the mean popular kids in high school. That's what it makes us look like. Okay, we've lacked nuance. We like to dehumanize others we don't agree with, and it just makes us look stupid. Honestly, it makes us all look like children because we're not using critical thinking and we're just blanketing everyone. You don't agree with me? Cognitive dissonance. I don't like cognitive dissonance. How do I get rid of cognitive dissonance? All right, I'm gonna dismiss any good things about you, any things that I agree with, and I'm going to hone in on the one thing that I don't like that you do or that I don't agree with, and I'm going to put you in this box, and I don't have to deal with you anymore. My brain is okay because I've moved you into this box that doesn't affect my thinking. That's what's happening. That's what's wrong with the world, in my opinion. But anyway, you have to watch my other video, get more into that. So yeah, when you're thinking of this, when it comes to those authors that are doing digital only, all right, I would say that at least 90%, and I'm pulling the number out of thin air, but I don't know of any traditional publishers that only do digital. So we're just gonna do a very probably underestimate. About 90% of the people that are doing only digital or only KU are independent authors. What does this actually mean? This means that we do not get an advance for our books. We spend hours and days and nights writing our books. We don't get paid for them in advance. So if you are consuming the experience by reading a book, then you should be paying the author for that experience. A traditional publisher, those authors get paid in advance. They have gotten paid for their work. Should you pirate from them then? No, it is still wrong. But I just want to point out from my own compass, okay? Because we all get to make our own compass, all right? And I'm just pointing this out because I think some people are using this thing that I'm talking about with the trad and applying it to indies, and I want you to separate, because if you're using it, it's inaccurate, and I just want people to be accurate when you're making decisions, whether I agree with them or not. I want you to agree on what is truth. Okay, so what is truth is that traditional authors have at least been paid for their work. Whether that payment is enough, probably not. But at least they've been paid something. Indie authors have been paid nothing, and they also have to spend money most of the time, especially if they want a good product, in order to make it available to you. So even if they're going to make it available to you for free, they're spending money for all of the programs that they use to write. They're spending money for their computer equipment. They're spending money for their formatting software. Time is money. They're spending time away from their families, their loved ones and stuff to be able to do this thing. Some of them still have jobs outside of writing, so they're using all of their free time in order to produce this thing. That has value to it. And you're dismissing that when you pirate a book. They've gotten no compensation at all. Indie authors have gotten zero compensation. Pre-orders, you don't get paid for those while you're writing the book. You get paid for those 60 days after the book goes live. After the book is published, you get paid your royalties. Most Books do not earn out. This includes traditional books. Do not earn back what it cost to produce them. Okay. So I just told you about literally just the equipment. You need a computer. All right. You need a computer. Even if you're going to the library to use theirs, you're probably going to need gas to get there. Okay. So that's still a financial investment. I don't know anybody that walks to the library to write their whole book. All right. So almost everyone is going to have to spend some amount of money, the internet access, whatever, in order to be able to make their book at the bare minimum. Bare minimum. If you want to be a professional author with a quality product that readers are going to enjoy and that is equal to the quality of a traditional book that has multiple people behind it and money behind it, you are going to need a cover that is good, which means you're probably not going to be able to make it yourself. And even if you do make it yourself, you're going to have to pay for the software or program in order to make the cover, as well as the licensed stock images, unless you want to use AI. And if you use AI, because I know authors that do, and I know a lot more about AI now, and so I have a very nuanced stance on it as well, and we can make a separate video about authors and AIs and whether we should be freaking out or not. And there's a spectrum to that as well. I think there's ways that people can use it where they can justify it and say, this is ethical for me because XYZ. That's a whole nother video. So if y'all want that, let me know. I can make that video. What was I saying? What was I saying? I don't remember. Oh yeah, indie authors. Okay. So a cover, bare minimum. You literally have to have one for the site. You have to have a cover for the site. Your formatting program, you can technically format in Word, but even Word requires a license, and it's like $100 for a year. So it's very expensive considering that most books do not earn out. Most books, this is insane what I'm about to tell you, okay? I don't think that readers understand this. Most books in their lifetime do not sell more than 250 copies. 250. So if you're talking about an indie author whose prices on average range $2.99 to $4.99, then even at $4.99, okay, hey Alexa, what's 70% of $4.99?
70% of 499 is 349.3.
Okay, so $3.50. Hey Alexa, what's $3.50 times 250?
The answer is $875.
$875. Now you might be saying, well, what about paperbacks? Okay, well, paperbacks, you still have the printing cost. So that on average for a shorter book, like 50,000 words, is about $4. So that's already about half the cost of whatever you're going to list it as. Plus, a lot of readers don't buy indie book paperbacks because they cost more. Because we don't have bulk printings. They're on demand. And so you kind of have to go through the services that do the on demand and not the bulk, because then you're going to have to pay for like 500 copies from like overseas, get it shipped to you. And it's a lot of money to do that. So most indies do not do that. Then you have to have a special cover for the paperback. The formatting is also different than what you have on your Kindle. So that's another either program or person that you have to hire. On the low end, if you want to hire a person, it could be like $150. Or you can get Vellum, which was like $250, and do your own print and ebooks. If you do your own covers on Canva for a year, that's like $100. So just for if you are going to use, I won't even use Word because I use Google Docs. Okay, so we're going to talk about like real spending. Okay, $100 for Canva to create covers and your images to market your book. All right, per year, $100. And then the like $250 one-time cost for the Vellum. So that's already like $300. And then you also have to buy your stock images, which if you get it like on a deal, you might be able to get 100 for like $30 on the King Sumo every once. So like people do not understand that it costs hundreds of dollars, even if you're doing everything yourself in order to publish your books. And then if you have a newsletter, which you should, that is also a cost. Once you reach over like 1,000 subscribers, you're having to pay a monthly fee. Not all indies write a book a month. Some only write a book a year. And so if they're only going to make $800 on that book, think about the amount of expenses. Most authors are not making money writing. They're losing money. And I'm one of them. Okay. So, and I have been publishing since 2013. Okay. Editors, if you want a book edited, that's going to cost hundreds of dollars in itself. Most people can't afford editing because it costs more than they'll ever make on their book. All right. So I'm just telling you the truth. When you are stealing, especially from an indie author, by pirating their book, you are stealing from them, because you being able to even taste test their book, they haven't gotten paid for that taste test, and they don't have enough business in general in order to be able to recover that cost. So, if um if you're a bakery, okay, and you're or not a bakery, let's go with Starbucks because this is a real example. So if you're Starbucks, you have so many freaking customers and you are able to charge a high price for your product, and they will keep coming. You've got your system down. So you can offer for your customers that if they try something and they don't like it, they can return it and get something new and not have to pay you for it. They can sustain that because they are able to price their products high enough to where they're not really losing money. They're making money because they know that if they have that in place, you're more likely to try new things and want to come back and again and again and again and again. All right. So if you are using pirating, because this is something that even authors have admitted to me, they use pirating, whether it be movies, books, music, whatever, to sample the product to see if they'll like it. And then if they like it, they'll go buy it. And so they're like, this is not stealing because I'm only using it to take a taste test and see if I like it, and then I'll go buy it. So it's fine. You're still stealing because that taste is not free. The author still had to spend all that money to even have the product for you to be able to steal. They didn't get anything in advance. They're operating in the red. And so I really, really want readers to understand this, especially when you are taking indie books. I'm indie, so I am a little biased there. It's wrong to do it from a traditional publisher, but most traditionally published authors are closer to operating as a Starbucks than they are others. So it's still bad. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that if you're going to have a spectrum, then you need to be aware of the facts that it is going to have a really bad impact with indies, especially because we are directly losing money. Even if you never would have bought our book, it's still not right. Like, it's still not right. If you want to do it, do it. Like, I'm not going to judge anybody as a person for doing it. I'm just saying, be aware that you're doing it and the impact that it's having while you make that decision. I don't tell people how to make their decisions. I make decisions. I would definitely be more on the end of if they got my moral compass is like, okay, if you got paid something in the beginning, I would not feel as bad because at least you had something. I don't pirate any books, just putting that out there. But I know that that's how my brain would see one is much worse than the other. And so I don't think that some readers are aware of just how bad it is for indies. And so I wanted to put that out there. But it's also very bad for traditional publishers, and I'll tell you why. If they don't sell enough books, they might not get published again. And so then they're not going to have that royalty, and then they might go into the indie sphere. Some some indies go indie and they never try trad. That's me. I did not go to trad route. I don't want to go the trad route. So it's not always oh, they're self-published because I couldn't make it as trad. That is not the thing. Can be for some, but not for all. But yeah, so it has consequences for those authors too, even if they got paid, because it can affect how much marketing the publishing company puts towards their next books, which will affect their sales. They still have mouths to feed, just like everyone else. So I just want to let you know from the author standpoint how it actually affects authors. So yeah, if you're going to do it, but call it what it is. You're taking books because you care more about your enjoyment of a product and you don't see the value of that product as the price that the author has valued it at. So you're saying, I don't care about you. That's what it comes down to. It's okay to admit it. Okay. Just admit that that is your actual thinking process. Let's not lie and come up with excuses and talk about literature as a human right. Yes, but consuming the exact product that you want is not. So let's not hide entitlement behind talks of privilege, because it's not a good look. And no one's speaking up about it except for Rebecca Kinney did. She said it out loud the other day, and I saw it was the first time I'd ever seen someone say it's not about your privilege, it's about your entitlement. Never seen anyone say it, especially an author. Like, that had to take some serious balls. And it just takes one person saying something and really laying it out there for other people to be like, you know what? I agree. It's like when a comedian says something you're not supposed to laugh at, but you also agree with it. And so, like, you have that freedom to do it because they've created that space for you. That's what people do when they just say the whole truth. And so I'm saying it here and not doing it in anger. But I'm just trying to give you the full facts as you are making your decision on how you feel about it and whether it's ethical for you based off of the full facts and not what you have had in your head in the past that might not have been the full facts. Okay, let's continue with this because this is what the actual video was supposed to be about. All right. Content and compliance. Yeah, so we were talking about if they got rid of smut, then you would just not be able to publish those books on Amazon. They can do that. So that is a thing to be aware of, but there are options for you. You can also sell direct, but that does cost money. So Ream is what I would suggest for that because it does not cost money to be on Ream. So, and you make 90% on Ream, which is better than any other platform. So, all right. I think my name is heatherdowellwrites on there, maybe, if y'all want to find me. I've got my books on there. So, all right. We are entitled to remove or modify the metadata and product description, information, or images you make available for your book, and we may also remove all or any part of your book's cover art. For example, we may do so if you do not comply with our content requirements. You may not include any book advertisement or other content that is primarily intended to advertise or promote products or services. You must ensure that all metadata you provide to us is current, complete, and accurate. If you discover that any metadata you have provided to us for a book is inaccurate or incomplete, you must promptly submit corrected metadata to us through the program procedures for metadata submission. Okay, so a long, long time ago, people used to keyword stuff. And so they would use like a fixed, in their formatting, they would do like a fixed color thing. And this was before you had the options of being able to read your books in either black or sepia or green. You could only do white. So they would put their text in white for all the keywords that they wanted their book to be indexed for, because the reader wouldn't be able to see it on their device. And so it was a way to game the system, and Amazon caught on. And so I think that this is partly in reference to that, but also people do this with now the keyword stuffing is the subtitles on books where it says like, hot for teacher, semicolon, A student, teacher, college, steamy romance. That is not what subtitles are supposed to be. That's keyword stuffing. Technically, you're not supposed to do that, but a lot of people still get away with it. I've done it. Just the thing is that they say that if you do it, it has to go on your cover. So that to me is the difference. Is that text on your cover or not? If it's on your cover, it's fine. If it's not on your cover, then you shouldn't be doing that because it's against their terms. They will not let you do it on your paperback. They will reject the copy, the book. All right. Anyway, I think that that's what this is referring to, not that they're just going in and re-editing your book. And sometimes there's a formatting issue that you can tell them about and be like, hey, my readers are seeing this weird like square thing on here. What's up with that? And they might be able to go in and figure out what's going on and fix it. So I think a lot of this stuff is really just for their like customer help and stuff. And there are people there that work with KDP to be able to do stuff on your behalf because you don't have access to their system. I don't think that a lot of this is like, let me go sneak into this random customer's book and change things. Also, I want to point out that with the updating, because people have been talking about, oh, Amazon can go in and update your book without you giving your consent. Go on to your page on Amazon with managing your Kindles and devices. Go to the preferences tab, scroll down, and there is a part that has to do with updating. You opt in. You opt in. If you want them to do automatic updating or not, there's a button. You choose whether you want it to automatically update your books or not. Amazon generally does not ever force update any books unless there are extreme circumstances where they need to do so. So if an author puts a placeholder book in there to do their pre-order, and then that book is the one that goes out, and it's obviously not the book that was on pre-order, and when they put in the new file, it just didn't go through, and so you got the dummy file that they put in there because they used to require the assets when you did pre-order. So now they don't, but you used to have to actually upload the book. So people would use dummy files. The wrong book goes out. Obviously, Amazon is going to correct that because that would be an extremely poor experience for the reader to get the wrong book. So they would force update that book on the behalf of the author. The other time is when a significant amount of changes has been made. We're talking like an author adding 10,000 words to a book, not just an author changing a couple typos. We're talking about like major changes. Then they might go in and update it. But usually for the smaller updates, you have to opt in whether or not you want to receive those changes. All right, moving on. Book withdrawal. You may withdraw your digital book from further sale and your print books from further on-demand printing in the program at any time on 5 business days advance notice by following the then current program procedures for book withdrawal or unpublishing. We may fulfill any customer orders completed through the date the books are available for sale, and we may continue to sell any inventory we have of print. All withdrawals of books will apply prospectively only and not with respect to any customers who purchased the book prior to the date of removal. So again, this is just reiterating that if the book gets removed, like the author unpublishes it or something, if you bought it, you still have access. Even if the author gets their account taken down because they did something wrong, or just, something crazy happened where Amazon just decided they did something wrong, you still have the book. They're not taking it away from you. Okay. Reformatting, this is just kind of what I talked about earlier. Sometimes people download a file, like you used to be able to just download your Word doc and it would format it for you automatically. for ebooks, not for paperbacks. I mean, there were still requirements that you had to do, but again, sometimes people would put like the forced text color, and so that could make a very poor reading experience now that you do have different options, and like readers can change the font, or they can, like they can pick their font, they can pick the sizing, they can pick the color background. Like these weren't all options in the very, very beginning. I think you could do some text stuff, but yeah, sometimes people will put in PDFs. I highly recommend that if you are an author to never submit a PDF for your ebooks, please, because it makes it to where the readers can't adjust the font size, and so it's not as accessible, and it's a horrible reading experience. Like, just don't do it. Just make an EPUB. You can do that for free. You can make an EPUB. You just do like file converter or whatever on the internet. It's free. It's free. Just look it up. But anyway. All right. There are ways to format your book for free too, by the way. Drafts to Digital has a good platform for that. I haven't used them to do that, but they do have it. I have used the Kindle Create, the one that you have on like on your computer. That's free. So like there are ways to do things for free, but as an indie, you're probably always going to be paying some sort of money on your book, even if you literally do everything yourself. All right. Yeah, it's just talking about them being able to correct errors. So they're just trying to make things good for the reader. Yeah. But I had one book where there was something with the file. I think there were certain areas where it had the forced text where it was black. And so when I was trying to read it on night mode, it was like it was whited out. Well, like how there was like or one of the modes, I don't know. There was just portions where it was not appearing because of the way that the doc was from. Anyway. All right. Okay. You acknowledge that we have no obligation to market, distribute, or offer for sale any book. They can change their content guidelines at any time and be like, hey, like one of the things that authors were concerned about was stepbrother romances, because some like countries and stuff don't want any. It's called pseudo incest because there's no blood relation, so it's not technically incest, but stepbrother is like a very taboo in some places. So sometimes those get like shadow banned, like that version of that on Amazon, where it's very hard to find them. Not necessarily just on Amazon, but just in general in certain things. So anyway, yeah, they can change what they agree to allow on their site at any time. So you are kind of beholden to them, which is why a lot of authors say don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't go just Amazon, because then you could end all of your revenue overnight if all that you're writing is books that are in the content that they decide to not allow anymore. Then you have to rebuild your platform somewhere else, and not all your readers are going to follow you, which is one of the reasons why you really want to have a newsletter. And we'll get into that too, because there's some stuff on here. You as the author, you don't own any of your seller information. You don't know who your customers are. So if they just delete your account overnight, you have no way to contact your customers through Amazon to let them know if you've moved to a different platform. Like, you have nothing. So protect yourself. But doesn't mean you have to be scared. Just set some things up so you feel a little more secure. All right. It's just talking about they can remove any reviews that violate guidelines. Okay. Readers don't seem to be aware of what the review guidelines are and what they are and are not allowed to include in their reviews. You're not supposed to mention anything about the author as a person. All right. So you can't be like, oh, this author is a racist and 1-star their book. If you have that review, Amazon will remove that review because it violates their guideline. And they should, because it goes against the guideline and it has nothing to do with the book. It just has to do with you not liking that person. It's not a valid review. And it's also a manipulative tactic, which also goes against Amazon's guidelines. This also, a manipulative tactic is going in and five-starring books you haven't read. That's manipulative too. And it can look suspicious. And when that happens and it's a bunch of people at once, five-starring something that they haven't read in order to boost the author, Amazon could actually wind up taking away legitimate reviews because it's just suspicious activity and they don't know what's genuine and what's not. So please do not go mass five-starring or one-starring books because it's bad regardless of what your intent is. It can affect the author and their account. The main thing that I've seen with this was when the review bombing, when that one author created like 5 other Goodreads accounts to go in and write negative reviews of the other authors that were like debuting the same year with similar type books. And then they 5-starred their books. And then as retribution, readers were like, we hate that this happened to you other authors, that this person gave you these negative reviews. We want to boost you and give you a bit of a spotlight. So then people that hadn't read the book go in and they like mass follow. Or the other thing that I not mass follow, like mass 5-star, even though they haven't read it. That's suspicious and Amazon will notice that. So don't do that because you're not really helping the author that way. The other thing that readers do that they think is helping the author that's not is when the author is in KU, they download the book on KU and then they rapidly flip through all the pages so that the author gets the money for the page reads. Amazon knows. They know what like a normal human speed is for reading. And so if you're doing it in less than a second per page, especially if there's multiple people that are doing this, they will assume that the author somehow told readers to do this to increase their share. And it's not good. The other thing that you're doing when you do this and you're not reading the book is that you are stealing from other authors in the KDP program, because what you don't realize is that the money that the authors get that are in KU is divided between all of them that have page reads. So it's not really fair if, because you like an author, you flip through all their books and they make, so much percent of that pot. You didn't actually read any of those. And then another author whose readers did read those books then makes less money because you inflated the percentage of reads that this other author made. So you're essentially, if you had not taken that action of inflating it, this author that did have people actually read the books would have made that money. So you have effectively stolen from that other author that legitimately earned those page reads. The other thing is that people need to stop saying that Kindle Unlimited books are free. They're not. You pay a monthly fee for them. They're not free books. Okay? They're not free books. I get it. It feels free. It feels free as a consumer because you've already made the purchase. Okay, I've probably said, get it free on KU. This is what authors do too. We always say, get it free on KU. But it's not actually free. And to be honest, most authors lose money on a per book basis by being in KU. What I mean by this is that the amount per page that you make out of that Kindle Unlimited pool, when added up, if someone completes your book, is generally a lot less than the amount of money that you would have made from that same reader making a one-time purchase of the book. All right. I have not looked at the Kindle Unlimited payouts in quite some time, but again, I've been publishing since before they even had KU. And it was generally around 0.004 cents per page. So making pennies, which is one of the reasons why I took my books out of KU, because I had like 50,000 word books, and I think I might have made $1 for a read. Instead of if I had had $2.99 book and you made a purchase, I would have made like $2.09. But also my much smaller books that are like 10 to 15K, you're talking about like pennies, like 20 cents if you read the whole thing, maybe if I'm lucky. And so that's, it's not a good ecosystem for the author as far as them getting money. It is a good ecosystem for the reader because you're getting a lot of value for your money. And so authors do it because it is easier to get someone to try you. And this is mostly true with indie authors because a lot of trad books are not in Kindle Unlimited. And there's also something to note with that too. That's very unfair that we should be talking about, which is that traditional publishers have deals with Amazon where they can be included in the Kindle Unlimited sphere, but not have to be exclusive. How is that okay? You're making your indie authors who you're already forcing your indie authors to price their book between $2.99 and $9.99 in order to get to 70%. So you're already forcing them to do that. So they can't price their books the same way that a traditional publisher can. They can charge $14.99 for an ebook if they want to. So you're already doing that to them. And if they want to take advantage of the Kindle Unlimited system, you make them exclusive. So they make less because the page reads are not the equal, unless they have a very, 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 very long book, in which case it can make sense. Like it could make sense if you have huge books that a reader would not want to pay. If they wouldn't want to pay, say, $4.99 for it, but you've got a 500-page book, then you might make more off of your page reads than you would a sale. So it does benefit long form written content. It does not benefit short, and it locks authors into the KU system, which reinforces Amazon being a monopoly, which is something that readers and authors do not like. No one wants to have all their eggs in one basket. It's an unstable environment for authors. So anyway, that's that. Yeah. Amazon can remove your reviews. Again, if it looks suspicious, they're just going to take them away. Also, if they think that they're like friends and family and stuff. When Goodreads connected with Amazon, I'm pretty sure they can see your friends and stuff on there, so they know who you friended, who might be reading your books. I would never link your Facebook with your Amazon. I don't remember if there's a way that you could do that or not. It feels like a long time ago that there was some sort of link with Facebook and Amazon. They'll know who your friends are, and they'll start deleting some of the reviews. This happened. This was like a long time ago where people got a bunch of reviews would just disappear because it was authors reading other authors' books. And it wasn't that they were fraudulent, but it was I'll review your book if you review mine. And so they actually would read and review each other's books. But it was in order to get my review, you have to review mine, which is also against Amazon's terms of services, which we'll get into that. Okay. All digital books made available through the program are automatically included in the Kindle Book Lending Program. However, for digital ebooks that are in the 35% royalty option, you can opt out of that. So a long time ago, there used to be a thing called borrows. Now what I think that this could be referring to one of two things. So there's the friends and family lending and stuff with your accounts. There's also, if you're a Prime member, there's certain books that you can read through Prime Reading, but they're not necessarily Kindle Unlimited books. So I think that might be part of this. And then, yeah, but the borrows thing, you used to be able, and I guess you still can in this way, but I don't know. I think this is really just referring to the old borrows system. I don't know. It's interesting because there was if you had a Kindle, there was like 2 books a month or something that you could get, but then you could also share books with your friends, and so, like, they would be able to borrow your book for, like, 2 weeks or something before it would be returned to their device where they would have access again, and then the author would get paid, an amount for that. That was before page reads. Before page reads, they did it per download, and so those were called borrows. And the reason why they got rid of that and went to page reads is because people were manipulating it, because people didn't have to read the book in order for the author to get the money. And so Amazon was like, okay, we're going to put a stop to this. And the other thing was is that people were also page stuffing, where they would put like 20% of their book would be like a preview for the next book. I don't know. Well, that was more of a KU thing. That was a KU thing where people would page stuff. Yeah, I don't know. There was just stuff. Okay, it's been a while. Anyway, and then if you're at the 70%, then you're automatically included in that. You don't get to opt out. If you opt out, it'll disable lending of the digital book by customers who purchase it after you have opted out, but this will not affect the right of customers who purchase it when lending was available to continue lending it. All right, scrolling down a bit. We may periodically update the converted list price in order to reflect current exchange rates. So yeah, sometimes authors' prices do get changed without them doing it. Sometimes this is because a new country will decide to have VAT, like the VAT tax. And so authors are, that's included. So it's kind of like taken away from your list price, the VAT price, which kind of sucks. They could also decide to change the minimum and maximum prices for a certain royalty percentage of the 35% or 70%. For those of you that are confused about the 35 versus 70%, this has nothing to do with Amazon exclusivity. 35% is when you price your book at 99 cents or below. So for a 99-cent book, the author is making 35 cents. And then if your book it has to be between $2.99. I'm sorry. If it's below $2.99, it'll be the 35%, because you have to price your book at $2.99. Not $2.99. You have to price your book at 99 cents. As far as I know, I don't think you can do it at 50 cents. You might. I don't know. I feel like you have to have at least 9. I've never done that. But yeah, 99 cents to $2.98, 35%. $2.99 to $9.99, 70%. If you go past $9.99, you can price your book to be competitive with traditional publishers and price at $14.99, which would make sense for like some nonfiction or really, really long books. They should be able to make their ebooks more expensive. But if they do, then they're reduced to the 35%. So then you have to charge like over $30 to even start making a little bit more than your $9.99 would have given you. So that's one of the other things that's like sucks about the Amazon ecosystem that we should be spending our time focusing on talking about, because it actually really does affect authors. So anyway, let's see. Which readers don't care because y'all are saving money. Y'all save money. Why is it your problem? Anyway. All right. This is just saying if you provide multiple list prices for like different territories and countries and stuff like that, they can just choose to go with the lowest one to like price match it with their own system. Sometimes Amazon will also offer discounts on your paperbacks without telling you. Yeah. So I don't know with certainty exactly how they go about the royalties when they do that, when they have changed your price, if they're still giving you the percentage of your original price, or if you're stuck with the percentage of the price that they stuck on there. Yeah. This is just talking about what I told you earlier, was that you only get your royalties 60 days after the calendar month ends. This is why some authors will publish their book on like the 28th of a month. So that they're pretty much getting all their sales 2 months later instead of like 3 months later if they did a beginning of the month release. Let's see. If we pay you a royalty on a sale and later issue a refund return credit for that sale, we may offset the amount of the royalty previously paid for the sale against future royalties or require you to remit that amount to us. So don't return books that you purchased because you actually wanted to read them, even if you don't like them. Okay. It's the same thing as the sampling principle. Okay. You paid to have the experience. Just because you didn't like the experience doesn't mean you should get a refund. Some people, it's fine to be able to facilitate that. Amazon as a business is acting like Starbucks, but the difference is that Amazon, they're doing great by giving you the customer service of allowing you to return a book that you've already read a portion of it. They're doing fine. But the author is the one that has to remit the amount. So if the author's already been paid and then you return their book, now the author owes Amazon money for their own book. Oh my goodness. There is a similar thing that happens when you beg your authors to be available in Barnes and Noble and all these other places. And they go through Ingram Spark. Most of these places that will stock your book, like independent bookstores and stuff like that, most of the places that will stock your book require you to be in the catalog that they order from, which a lot of the times is through Ingram Spark. And so when you're on that, you are like agreeing to have return copies of your book. So the seller is like, hey, I'll take 100 of this book. And so they take 100. I'm just giving a wild example. They take 100 of that book. They keep it on their shelves for 6 months. I'm really just giving random examples, okay? Keep it on their shelves for 6 months, only 30 sell. Now they got 70 copies. They don't want it on their shelf anymore. And so they want to send it back. But they like rip the covers off, so you can't even resell them. and you owe money to your printer because they still did their job with printing the books. They get returned. I guess they recoup a portion, but then you're not getting to resell it. I don't know. It's crazy. I do not do Ingram Spark for this reason. But there are authors who have lost thousands of dollars by getting their books into different stores like independent stores and Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that through Ingram Spark, and then people returning the copies. It's not usually that it's the readers that are returning copies. It is the sellers overestimated the demand for the book, and now the author is paying for their overestimation, which to me is not fair. But again, businesses operate to benefit them, not the people that are providing them the products. My mind. It's been a long, long video. I don't even know how long I've been on here. Let's see. I don't want to look at the chat yet, just in case there's negative comments. I don't want it to derail me. I just want to get through this video. Okay. Yeah, so don't return ebooks. If it is an accidental purchase, you know that it was an accidental purchase. You return it within the 7 days. That's fine. You didn't mean to purchase that book. You didn't consume any of it. The author has not lost money. Please return your accidental purchases. That's fine. And I think what some of it is that now you have 7 days to return your book. I feel like you used to have a certain percentage of the book that you could read. And I don't know if there was a time frame or not. And I think some people would even return fully read books. I don't know. There's been a lot of changes over the past like 11 years, okay? It's hard to keep up with when stuff happened. All right. If we pay you a royalty on a sale and later issue a refund, return, or credit for that sale, we may offset the amount of royalty previously paid for the sale against future royalties or require you to remit amounts to us. Same thing. They're going to get their money from you, the author. If a third party accuses you of not having rights to make your book available, then Amazon can hold your money until they reasonably determine who the valid party is that was able to publish the book and have the money. This sucks because basically anybody, any Joe Blow can accuse you of violating their copyright or not holding the rights. And if you don't have your book registered with the Copyright Office, it is going to be harder for you to prove that you are the legitimate owner, which really sucks because it's expensive to register your books. Not only that, but legally you own the copyright as soon as you write it. It's already copywritten. It's called like the poor man copyright. But yeah, you have to prove it that you own the right, and that means that there could be a hold. And let's say that it takes, even if it was just a month, if it took a month and they're holding all your money and that is your income, that's how you feed yourself. That's not fair. But also, if you are the person that has pirated and illegally distributing someone's books that you do not have the right to, thank goodness that they paused your account. So that then the author that lost wages because you got wages for their book can at least recoup some of that lost wage that you should not have gotten. And then hopefully you get sued and they get the rest of their money. But even if you get sued because you plagiarized, Amazon's not going to be the one footing the bill for that case, which is in here too, by the way. They're not going to litigate for you. You have to do all that. And it comes out of your pocket. If we determine that you have breached your representations and warranties of our content guidelines with regard to a book, we will not owe you royalties for that book, and we may offset any of those royalties that were previously paid against future royalties or require you to remit them. So let's say worst case scenario, someone for some reason is able to prove they have copyright even though they don't. They could take your money from old book. They could require money. That to me, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. But yeah, that's what I think that would be talking about. Worst case scenario, yeah. All right. Upon termination of this agreement, we withhold all royalties due for a period of 3 months from the date they would otherwise be payable in order to ensure our ability to offset any refunds or other offsets that we may entitle to take against the royalties. You do have a little bit of a longer return period for your physical books. And so I think that's why it's still saying this 3-month period. The other reason I think would be with Kindle Unlimited, since your books are in there for 90 days. And so you're supposed to stay exclusive for 90 days. But if your book's no longer listed, people can't get it. I don't know. It's okay to say I don't know sometimes. All right. If we determine that deceptive, fraudulent, or illegal activity has occurred in respect to your book or your program account, then we may permanently withhold payments to you. So again, readers, if you're doing something suspicious on an author's account and it's multiple readers that are doing it, it can make it look like the author is involved in this, deceptive, fraudulent, or illegal, and their account can be taken, or their books. So please don't. And they could permanently withhold the money too. That's the worst part. Not just getting kicked off the platform, but not getting your money. And there have been authors that this has happened to. Bella Forrest, hers is like still in litigation because it was like a co-op of multiple authors writing under one name. And then this one guy that was like help managing things, he was like, well, I manage everything, so I get the money for all of this. Like he was just trying to rip money because Bella Forrest was not like a real entity, or it started off as a real author. And then, I don't know, just look it up. My gosh, my voice is so worn out. And again, just talking about ways that they're going to make you pay them back. They're going to try to recover costs because guess what? They still want to be the Starbucks and offer the customer compensation for something that's been taken away from them. If they had to remove the book or whatever, they'll pay. But it's going to come out of your pocket, not their pocket. When they removed the if they remove a book because it was a copyright violation or something like that, generally, if you paid for it, it was not allowed to be legally distributed. If they take it off of your devices for that reason, in the past, they have paid the customer that money back. So yeah, it got removed from your device, but you got your money back. So it's, whatever. Okay. Whew. Grant of rights. This is one of the important ones. You grant to each Amazon party throughout the term of the agreement a non-exclusive, irrevocable right and license to print on demand and anticipation of customer demand and distribute books directly. This is just basically saying you get permission for them to publish your book. That's all it's really saying right here. But it's also telling you what the customer is allowed to do with it. So prospective customers are able to download, access, copy and paste, print, annotate, and or view online and offline, including on portable devices. Permit customers to store digital books that they have purchased from us on servers, virtual storage, and to access and re-download such digital books from virtual storage from time to time, both during and after the term of this agreement. Display and distribute your trademarks. That again is just talking about their stuff. So yeah. So Amazon keeps your book on their virtual storage because that's how customers are going to be able to access it. And why they say storage, virtual storage, is because it is virtual. Data is virtual. So it's on their servers. The servers have to be working in order to distribute your book. Okay. So they have to have on here that you're really just getting a license to like consume the book. They have to as a business, because if they fall through, then they would be liable for keeping the servers running and they wouldn't have the money to do so. It's like if a bank goes bankrupt and they don't have the money to pay you back the money that you had in the bank. Yeah. It screws over customer, but it is just how business works. With that being said, another thing to look at here is for authors in particular, when you're talking about piracy and just different stuff, copy and paste. If that's a function that you do not like authors to have, then I would also suggest going on to Ream Stories, because they are not able to copy and paste the text. They can comment on it, but they cannot copy and paste the text and then put it on another place, which you're not supposed to be able. to you're not supposed to be able to copy and paste an author's work and then be posting it places without their written permission anyway. That's part of the copyright clause that's in an author's book. So really, you should not have that ability. However, you can copy and paste small portions of a book in order to make a review. And so I think that's why Amazon allows you the ability to be able to do that. They also, I don't know if they still do it, would allow you to like highlight a portion of the book, like a paragraph, and then it would format it into like a post for you, and you could post it on social media, which I think was really cool. That was like an awesome way to share quotes. But it was still was not you like copying and pasting a chapter of a book and then putting it on your blog, and you're not the author, so you should not have the ability to do that. You don't have permission to steal a chapter of the book, put it on the internet. Anyway, let's see. This is talking about their ability to modify and all that kind of stuff. Yes, publishers can decide to update their books. That is not Amazon deciding to go and change Roald Dahl. That is the publisher decided to update the book, as is their right. So that it's not Amazon, it's the publisher. Okay. Okay. All right. DRM, kind of talked about that earlier. We may be, but are not obligated to provide you the option to apply DRM technology. I think that by them removing the ability for you to directly download the book onto non-Kindle approved services and stuff, I think that tells me that they're kind of forcing DRM. That's what I think is happening. They're just trying to limit piracy. And a lot of KU authors have had their books pirated, and a couple of them have had their accounts suspended because somebody else put their book on a pirating site. So this whole thing with readers not being able to download books, that is a consequence of readers doing wrong by stealing the book and then putting it on pirating sites. They're just trying to, this is actually a step to me in the right direction to protect authors. So yeah, and the thing with, again, I explained why they have to put in there that you don't own the book. I've explained it. It makes logical sense. Why are we acting like this is a new thing or that this is an Amazon only thing? Because I'm telling you, it's probably not an Amazon only thing. I feel like this is an everywhere thing, all technology thing. My husband is a huge gamer, and he has had games that no longer work because they don't have the servers to operate them, or they don't have the servers to operate the online portion. So like, let's not go shouting about Amazon like this is crazy new news. It's not new news. And it makes sense that they do this. It's not them being an enemy. It's the current system of how we distribute digital content. What we should do is encourage them on the ways that we can still protect authors, but also give more ownership to readers. And the way that you do that without giving them raw files that they can then put on pirating sites is to do stuff like the book IO that I was talking about. But I will also tell you, readers, that you're not going to like it if they do that, because prices will go up, because authors will have more control, and we will be able to create supply and demand, which will mean that our books will have inherent value, and you will have to pay to have it. This is like the whole thing of, it's kind of like NFT. Yeah, the books would operate like an NFT. That is the future of ebooks, is NFTs. It's very confusing and I don't get it. It's a bit too much for my brain. But that is the way it would create supply and demand. Books would be able to, the price would adjust based off of the demand too. So like authors could be making $40 off of one ebook. Because it would create a demand. But right now, digital content, everyone thinks that it's this infinite source because it kind of is. It kind of is it's an infinite supply, which is why people don't value it. It's why people devalue it. And they put it on all these sites because they see it as worthless because it's not something that they can tangibly hold in their hands. And that's not good for artists. Like, I get it as a consumer. I'm a reader too. I would like to know that I will always have access to a book that I pay money for. I get it. Like, I really do get it. But I am also an author. I'm an artist. And so I want my digital content to have worth. And we have devalued digital content so much. Like, look at the music industry. Like, we rally behind the music industry when it comes to their digital rights, but we don't talk about it with authors. We don't care. And that really sucks. Okay. But see, here's the other thing too, is that with the things with the music, they make the majority of their money through concerts. So them having their songs on the radio, which they still make money from having their songs on the radio, and like streaming services and stuff. It's kind of like a loss leader, like they're losing money by having it available for you to freely consume, but they make that money back, like Starbucks offering you to get a different version of whatever you ordered if you don't like it. It's the same concept. Like, their systems are so big that they're able to do that, but these indie authors, we can't, and we're beholden to the system. All right, so if you want things to improve for everyone, start advocating for authors and not looking at it through such a selfish lens of what benefits you as the reader, okay? Because we're creators and we deserve to be able to make money for our work too. Just like you do, going to your 9-to-5 job, we should be able to make a living wage, and most of us can't. I will tell you right now, this is not a pin in me. This is just literal facts. I have made $0 this entire month. Zero, not a penny off of my books. I have 2 novels. I have 3 novellas. One of them released on February the 13th. One of them released on January the 23rd. And I have a short story. So yeah, I've made 0. Why? I took all my books out of KU and put them wide. All right. Amazon pushes books that are in KU. It wants to keep you in the system. And you rank better when you're in KU. People try it. There's a lot of things that go into it. But yeah, most authors are not making money, even ones who run it like a professional business, that have quality covers, that get editing, that do all this stuff. Most authors operate in the red, including the ones that have been at it for over a decade. And I don't think y'all realize that. I just really don't think that readers think that. I think that readers see authors, they put them in the entertainment celebrity category, and it's just not true. Some are. Some are in that category, but the majority of us are not. The lifetime of a book, $2.99 book, 800 something dollars, and most don't get that. Most lose money. Books do not sell. That is the rule. The exception is that they do sell and that they do make money. No one wants to acknowledge that. Indie authors the most. And we use survivor bias from people who have made money to make it seem like that is the norm, and it really is not. That is, let me contribute my success to my hard work alone, which is not a fact, because there's a lot of authors who run their business professionally. They treat it like a business. They put in the money to give it the best chance. They put in the time to give it the best chance. They advertise. They do everything that they possibly can. And the books do not earn money. They don't. Most don't. Okay. It's one of the reasons why I don't think people should be so scared of these AI authors. Because if the authors that are putting all of this time and intention into their books are not making money, why do you assume that the ones that are hitting a button are making money on their AI books? Okay. Now there's also a wide range of people who use AI with their writing, and not all of them are the push a button. Okay. We can make a different video about that because I feel like there's a lot of nuance to the whole quote unquote AI author that's also not being discussed. And there's a lot of people being vilified. And there is some nuance to it. Okay. So I'll eventually have that sort of discussion. None of my books have AI writing, just putting that out there. But again, I don't feel the need to have some sort of superiority complex to be like, because I'm not doing something and I know it's the popular thing to not do, I'm not going to allow myself to have critical thinking and like have a nuanced discussion about something because this could affect me poorly. And so I'm going to jump on the bandwagon of everyone else and demonize every single person that uses AI, and not talk about the inequality that does exist that causes people to want to use AI, because there is an inequality that exists. Um, Not to look at those issues instead and rally behind authors and try to resolve them. Instead, we're just going to bully people that are using AI, many of which are using it um, to get to a place that other people that are more privileged are at. Not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying the same reasons why readers try to have a nuanced conversation about the inequality of readers and access to books. They're able to do that. They're able to sit back, they're able to take that in and look at it, but they're not applying those same principles to people who are using AI as part of their writing or publishing process. They don't do it. I have a big problem with faulty thinking. And it's faulty thinking when you use the same exact argument to support one thing and demonize another. It to me is just utter hypocrisy, and hypocrisy is one of the things that I absolutely hate most in this world. I really do. And I wish that people would just learn to be honest. I don't care if you making a decision because it best aligns with your moral compass. I am not here to judge your moral parameters. I'm not. I'm a human. I have my own. I don't want someone else coming in and judging the way that I make my decisions, whether they're moral or immoral. It's all relative, okay? So I'm not judging anyone for making their determinations because I don't want them to do it to me, okay? So I'm not a judgmental person in that facet. What I am judgmental about is dishonesty. So just be honest or don't say anything at all, okay? That's what I want. If you want to steal and you want to pirate books, fine. Okay? Fine. Go for it. Stop promoting it as if it is not theft. Just acknowledge that it is and that you're doing it and that you don't find fault with it. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with you having that stance for yourself. Don't try to convince others to have that same stance so that you can feel better about the decisions that you're making. Because at the end of the day, even though you're picking that choice, you probably deep down know that what you're doing is wrong and you're just choosing to do it anyway. And that's fine because guess what? We're humans. We're going to do things that are self serving, that benefit us, whether it affects others or not. If something is more convenient for you, you're generally going to make the choice to go with that convenient thing, regardless of if it affects someone else. This is the reason why people still buy things from Temu. This is the reason why people will still, get stuff even though if they know that there's child labor involved. people making chocolate using children. Oh, we're going to keep letting these children in the chocolate factory make these chocolate or work these sewing machines or whatever, the sweatshops. We're going to do this. We're going to still buy from them because that's the cheapest way to produce it as a business. And at the end of the day, the customer's not going to care as long as it's freely available and accessible. So stop getting on your moral high grounds. Look at yourself. We all have faults. We all do things that are not right, and we justify them. Stop trying to justify, just be honest. I do this thing that I know is not wrong. That I consume this piece of chocolate. I'm just making an example, okay? I consume this piece of chocolate that I know would not be available at this price that is convenient to me without the hard work of children who should not have to be working in order to support their families. But I'm going to eat this chocolate because I like it. Just be honest. Just be honest. That's all I want. I think that the world would be a much better place if we're just honest and we stop trying to fearmonger and demonize and dehumanize people so that we can feel better about ourselves. Because when we're demonizing them, I feel like we're honestly seeing the parts of ourselves that we don't like. We're seeing the parts of ourselves that we don't like, and we're attacking it to feel morally superior. Okay? And if we would just accept that we're not morally superior. We're all faulty in one way or another. We look at each other as humans. We try to best understand each other, and we try to not judge others constantly as people. We'd be better off. Judging actions. Yeah, there are some things that are absolutely deplorable. But the thing is, again, with anything, if you want the world to be better, if you want to be free, and, I don't know. I'm just one of those where I'm like, I am going to try not to be judging anybody unless I'm holding myself to the same standard. That's all I'm saying. If you hold yourself to the standard and it applies across the board where you have that stance in all circumstances, by all means, get on your high horse, because that is an actual belief. There's no fault in it. You believe that thing. Okay? You believe that thing. Get on your high horse. Yes. Shout it from the rooftops. Defend it. But if it does not go across the board and you're contradicting yourself with your beliefs, your values are not real. Like you're just I just don't like it. I don't like the hypocrisy. Okay. We're gonna move on. Okay. Yeah, it's been paused long enough. You can read it if you wanted to. All right, rights clearances, disputes. Yeah, this is all just like jargon for them to like not have liability. Okay. Yeah, you can pause the screen and read it if you want. See if there's anything else. I'm just kind of skimming because I've already read this, obviously. It's just stuff about you not being able to sue them. You cannot have a class action against them. And then also they're basically choosing the arbitration that you have for anything. Amazon, its officers, directors, employees, affiliates, assigns harmless from any from against any cost. So if they decide, oh, your book got pirated, this author made all this money, they don't have to give you anything for it. They're not holding themselves liable. They might give it to you, but they're not holding it. They also don't have to pay you attorney's fees or cost to try to resolve any issues. That's what all that is. Okay. My voice is really wearing out, y'all. Oof. Okay. You retain ownership and rights into the copyrights and all other rights and interest into your books. So Amazon is distributing it, but you are still the owner of your books. We retain sole ownership and control of all data obtained from customers and prospective customers in connection with the program. What this is saying is like, you don't know your customer emails. You don't know their bank account numbers. You don't really have a way to contact your customers if you decided to leave the platform and like bring them with you. That is why if you're an author, you're supposed to get an email newsletter list so that you have the emails, so that if anything happens, you own the emails. You can contact the readers and tell them the next steps. All right. Okay. My voice is really, really, really going. All right. For some reason, they decided to put this in all caps. This was not me. Limitations and liability. Again, it's just telling you like they're not liable for anything. If you get screwed over, sorry. Sorry. Just letting you pause and read if you want. This is going into the arbitration thing that I was talking about. They don't want you to take them to an actual court. They do have a thing in here where you can take someone to civil claims court. But yeah, there's just a bunch of dispute stuff. Again, not a lawyer. This is KDP terms and conditions. So people were talking about this. So let's get into it. When you're enrolled in KDP, you must be exclusive to us, and it'll be included in Kindle Unlimited. Any substantially equivalent Kindle subscription programs, where it be eligible to earn a share of monthly cash funds. Remember, the funds are coming from the readers and they are being distributed to the authors. It's not that Amazon is like, oh, this author got money, let's give them money out of our pot. No, you're paying for it. You readers are paying for that. Amazon is not just rewarding authors. They do have bonuses sometimes that they do. But honestly, that's because that $9.99, I am pretty dang sure that they allegedly keep a portion of those. Of course they do. Of course they do. And they're doing the rewards out of their little cut. So yeah, it's just it's talking about the KDP Select benefits, countdown deals, free promotions. Okay, this 70% thing, this is what people were getting confused about that I saw with authors that were spreading some misinformation. If you looked closely at the screenshot that they were showing, they actually kind of tell you the truth, but the way they were saying it in the video, they weren't giving you the context. Okay. So this is saying that if you are in the KDP, then you will get the 70% royalty for sales to customers in those other territories where you normally would only get 35%. So basically, they're just giving you another little reason to be Kindle exclusive. But the countries that you would get it, there's only like 4 of them, and they're not predominantly English-speaking countries anyway. So I am talking to a mostly American or English-speaking audience right now. So if you're one of those authors and you're not talking about a translated book, you're not really losing out a bunch of money. There's not many English-speaking, English-written books bought by non-predominantly English-speaking country citizens. Every once in a while, you'll get one. Like I've gotten one from Japan before. So like it does happen. But it's not such a huge amount that I think that one little factor should be dictating whether you go into Kindle Unlimited or not. It's not as big a deal as I think it was being made out to be. Okay. Exclusivity, when you include a digital book in KDP Select, you give us the exclusive rights to sell and distribute your digital book. They have other parameters on here, but you can still show like 10% of your book. Like you can have your own sample on your website. That's the other thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the piracy and the people using the excuse of like, I just use piracy as a taste test and then I go buy the book if I like it. You can do that already ethically on Amazon or the other sites. They have a look inside feature or a sample download, and a lot of authors will give you the first couple of chapters for free on their website anyway. That is enough of a sample for you to be able to test out their writing style to see if you like it. Read the dang blurb. I think the data shows like they did I don't know who it was, and I'm not going to try to find it, but I think it was something like 80% of readers don't read the blurb before purchasing the book. 80%. Okay. They look at the cover, the title, the author, and the price. Then they look at the blurb. Even fewer percent open the look inside and read the sample. Okay. So don't do the taste test like that. Download the free samples. They will send a sample to your Kindle. I do that all the freaking time. And it's like a 10 or 20%, something like that they'll send you. I think it's up to 20% that is in your sample that you download, and I think it's 10% that the author can post. I think that is the thing. I think. I don't know for sure. But you can definitely sample it. All right. And then it's saying you cannot sell or distribute or give anyone else the right to sell or distribute. This is one of those weird ones when it comes to review copies, because technically you're not allowed to distribute. So sending review copies is distributing. So you toe the line. The companies that allow you to do it will even have a little portion in there when it talks to KU readers. And it's like, hey, we think that it'll be okay to use this service and do it this way because it's for reviews. But technically, it's distribution. So if there's anything, we're not held liable for distributing your book. You have the full knowledge that you're allowing us to distribute it in this way. You are ultimately responsible for however Amazon decides to come after you if they come after you. Like that's what a lot of the sites do. Like Story Origin, for instance. I use Story Origin. Yeah. And even with doing a giveaway, technically you're supposed to purchase your copy and then send it to the reader. I do not do that crap. I'm not spending money. My book is free. For me, it's my book. I should be able to give it to whoever I want for free, not pay you money to distribute my book. That's my little rant on that. Anyway. But I'm not in KU, so I can anyway. But yeah, I'd be careful if you're in KU. Like it's one of those like, do you want to ask for permission or forgiveness type things? It's iffy. This is just more KU stuff. You don't really know ahead of time how much money is going to be in the pot either. It goes up and down and fluctuates. It's not reliable. So here's the 4 countries that I was talking about. So the ones where you would get the 70% royalty if you are in KU is going to be Brazil, Japan, Mexico, and India. And everybody else will get 35%. But it only applies to those countries. Doesn't apply to your big money makers, which is the US, the UK, Canada, and Australia. For the American audience, those are the 4 where you tend to make your sales. Okay, this is just talking about the stuff. You can opt out of KDP, the KU system. You can opt out before your 90 days. Not a lot of people know that. So it does automatic renewals every 90 days, but there's a checkbox. You can uncheck it, so that will end it after the 90 days, but you can also just call customer service and have them take your book out of KU right away if you want. I've done it, so I know that they do it. So they can end it early. So there you go. You can read all that. This is talking about the manipulation that we kind of talked about earlier. They're basically just saying like, hey, if you do anything wrong, we're going to make sure that we cover our butts and we're going to keep our money. That's all most of this is. It's just covering their butt. That's literally all this is. This is about the pre-orders. You can have a pre-order for a year. And then the part for readers is just letting you know that yes, Amazon can cancel your pre-order. This is usually when the author does not submit their final product on time. Or if they want to extend it past 30 days, Amazon tends to send you an email, which some people are like, duh, I still want it. I said I wanted it. I pre-ordered it. However, you got to consider that some people have a budget. And so if you're extending a book past the pre-order date, they might not have accounted for that expense, especially if they're buying multiple things. And so it makes a lot of sense that Amazon does cancel the pre-order outright, instead of letting you infinitely extend the date. Other platforms do let you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. But I do understand why Amazon does this. So I don't think that it's like a horrible injustice. But I get it. I've not been able to follow through on pre-orders before. I've had them canceled. I've lost privileges before. I will say that if you lose privileges to do it because you weren't able to do stuff on time, you can just call. When I've called, I've not had to wait the whole year. They just went ahead and reinstated it. Like they're just keep calling. Someone will be nice and be like, okay, here you go. But also you do want to give your customers a good experience. So like I've learned for me, I don't like the instability of not knowing that the product is going to be ready on time, either through my own fault by not writing it fast enough or life circumstances, or maybe the editor can't finish it when I need them to, or maybe I can't get a book cover when I need it to be done. Or the power goes out. I had a tornado happen. I had a tornado on the day that I was supposed to upload my book. And so it didn't go through because power went out. So like things happen. I've learned to not set up pre-orders unless everything's already ready. You make the decision for yourself with what you're comfortable with. I know that to give the best experience is for me to just take responsibility and ownership, know that things are not in my control, and not set a pre-order until the book is done or done enough for me to be extremely certain that I'll at least be done with my portion and would have a passable product by the time, even if something happened with like editing or book cover and I had to make my own or something, like I could still get the product up. But it's hard and I get it. Anyway, pre-orders. I don't know if I mentioned this in this one or not. I definitely did in the other one where I was ranting for half an hour and deleted it. Authors don't get the money until 60 days after the release. So again, indie authors have to have the finished product ready, prepared, all the things that they have to spend. They have to have all of it ready before they can make a cent. They're not making money from the pre-orders. So they're operating, every book is operating at a loss. The author has already lost money before it's ever published. I really want that to sink in with readers before they make the decision on whether their convenience of having a book for free to entertain them, how it weighs on their scale of what they consider to be ethical. Because I feel like when you're operating in a place of going against your ethics in the ways that you have specifically determined them, you are going to be very uncomfortable. It's not going to be, it's not good. And so I am challenging your system of ethics by providing you with more information. That's what I'm doing here. Okay. If you lower the list price of a digital book while it is available for pre-order, we may charge customers the pre-ordered the digital price, the digital book before the price decreased. All this is saying is that it's the pre-order price guarantee. So this is really, really good as a reader, but also I think that it's a good thing for the authors because you don't want to screw your readers. You don't want to have something on pre-order for a year and have it at $2.99, and then a week before the release you're like, oh, I want to get last minute orders, and so then you price it at 99 cents to get last minute orders. Well, then you screwed over all of your most loyal readers because they're having to pay more for your book. That's not fair. And so that's why Amazon does the pre-order price guarantee, so that if you do want to lower your price because you want to get all of the sales, maybe you didn't get the pre-order numbers that you were wanting, that's fine. Go for it. Lower your price. You're not going to make as much money. Probably. But go for it if you want to. If you want more readers, that's a strategy to do it. And it's great that they have this pre-order price guarantee because then the reader gets the best price regardless of when they pre-ordered it. I really, really like this because I do pre-order paperback books sometimes, and it will go down like $2 by the time the release comes out. So I think that a lot is because if a book is on pre-order and it's like 6 months before the release, what's usually happening around then is that the author and the editor with the publishing company, like with a traditional publisher, they're still going through the final proofreading and editing stages, so they don't know the exact page count, and the page count is going to determine the print cost. And so I think that is why the prices change by the time it comes out in regards to traditional publishers. I think that is why for paperbacks, and I'm really glad they have this price guarantee. They also will do price matching, which is something that is good because it is the only way for you to be able to have a free book on Amazon. You have to take it wide in other stores where you are allowed to do it for free. And then they will match it in their store. They don't have to. They don't have a legal obligation to. And that is contractually in here. I may have already showed you that. They don't contractually have to price match. Here we go. They don't have to match it, but they generally will. If it is in major retailers, they'll price match it. This is also how authors who are wide are able to do short-term sales for their books, especially when it's a free sale, because wide authors do not have access to countdown deals, and they also do not have access to free days. However, they can still utilize free days or discount pricing for a temporary amount of time by first having that price at other retailers and then requesting that Amazon do the price matching in time for their promotion. Other retailers, you can actually set up when you want your discount to start and end, and they do all of that for you. For Amazon, you probably have to contact them again once the sale is over and be like, hey, you price matched, but now it's back to regular price. Please put it here. So you always want to do that super early so that they have lots of time to work with you. I know authors that have done it. Okay. If you're at 35% royalty, so your book is below $2.99, they will not deduct delivery cost when calculating your royalties. So you save a couple pennies. That's what this is talking about. Why is there delivery cost? Well, because they're having to store it in their system, and they're having to store the data to say, oh, it's on XYZ device. It costs money to house digital content. Nothing is free. So they're like, hey, you know what? 35% royalty. We make more money that way. So we're gonna give you a little cut back, and we'll let you keep that delivery cost because we're benefiting from you making less. That's what it is. The delivery cost is not that high. There is a breakdown of what it is. I will say that for my book, that's like 50,000 words, and there's another one that's like 65,000 words. It's like 8 cents So it's not insignificant, but it's not a lot. I would check your delivery costs because there are ways that you can optimize your file to make it smaller, so that your delivery cost is less. And if you sell a bunch of copies, it could really add up. Because, like, if you sold 100, that's $8. $8 out of 100. Yeah, I want it. So anyway, this is the same thing I told you earlier about the minimum and maximum pricing. Yeah. And then here's price matching details. And then this is talking about the review stuff. They don't want any conflicts of interest when it comes to reviewing books. So they don't really want your friends and family doing it. If your friends and family do it because they're actually your target audience and they do read your books, I would advise them not to be putting in their reviews, "Hey, my sister wrote this book," because Amazon will take it away. I'm just telling you what they do. But yeah, I don't really do a lot of reviews anymore. For that reason, just because I know a lot of authors, and this is a gray area where I know I am ethically reviewing products, and I don't think that this, I think that this applies a lot of times more so with people that do have a financial vested interest in a product doing well or doing poorly. So it is a gray area to me. So I rarely review books anymore for that reason. A lot of authors, we know each other. So like it's really unavoidable. So I just kind of stopped. I do a couple. Generally I do it when I did not know the author beforehand. So like I've not read their work before and I've recently met them and then they offered me a review copy. So I'm not like I'm not biased because I don't know them in their personal life. I don't know if that makes any sense. Anyway, this is more about reviews. Here's what confuses people. So if you do represent the brand, like of course they'd want you to acknowledge that and like post and stuff. If you are a reviewer and you receive an ARC, please do not put, "I received this book." I'm talking about this exact phrasing. "I received this book in exchange for a review." Why? Is because when you scroll down, it says it is okay to review a free or discounted book's advanced reader copy that you received from an author or publisher. However, they can't require a review in exchange or try to influence review. So when you put, "I received an ARC in exchange for a review," you are literally saying, "Hey, I and the author are both violating the terms of service." That's what you're saying. So don't do it because it's against the rules. Authors, please stop telling your readers that they have to review your book if you give them an ARC copy, because you are literally going against the terms of service. What you should say instead is, "I am offering," not you in your review, I'm talking about authors. "I am offering ARCs to anyone who thinks that they would enjoy this book and will consider leaving a review." My husband's calling me. He just got off work. Hold on. Glad I remembered to unmute. I told him I was on live. Okay, where are we at? All right. So yeah, you can tell them that that's how you need to phrase it. if you just put it out there in that way, you're saying like, yes, there is kind of the expectation that you are going to review it. That's why I am giving it, is because of the probability that you will review it. That's fine. There's nothing unethical about that. It does not go against the terms of service. This applies for all books, whether they're in Kindle Unlimited or not. This also is kind of like an FTC guidelines or whatever. Like it has to do with fair marketing practices. Like it's a thing for everything. Like, yeah. All right. Here's more examples that it's giving about the reviews and like when you are not really allowed to do it, when you should do it. With giveaways, authors, you really need to be careful with your pre-order incentives. I will just say this, publishers get away with stuff that indies don't, but also publishers have legal teams and they have fine print. They have fine print to make sure that they are in league with the laws of their state. They have clauses in their giveaways, and authors a lot of times are not doing that. And you cannot require purchase. So if something requires a purchase in order for them to enter, if they're having to show a receipt that they pre-ordered your book in order to enter a giveaway or to receive something in exchange, you could be breaking the law. Not talking about just Amazon, but like literally the law. So look at your state laws. You cannot require purchases for stuff. You can have that as an entry method. And then in the like fine print, have a no purchase required option. That is generally how people will run their giveaways. Now with pre-order incentives, that is very interesting. I'm not a lawyer, so traditional publishers do it. So I'm guessing that there again is going to be those clauses that they have. I just did a pre-order incentive with when I did. Oh, you know what though? That wasn't a pre-order incentive. I told myself it was, but it wasn't. She was smart. So what she had done is she had a period of time where if you shared graphics during her release week about her book, like you use the images or whatever, shared graphics, did a copy of you with your book, pretty much any social media type sharing that you did about her book during that short time frame, she sent you art prints, which was very, very nice and very much appreciated. And I did order the book. And I feel like it was a pre-order incentive though, because I think I did have to. I don't think I had to show any proof. I might have. I don't know. I bought it, but it was also through a traditional publisher. So again, there probably would have been another opt-in, but whatever. I'm just saying, talk to your lawyer before you go around doing all these stuff, because they could potentially get you in trouble. That's all I'm saying. That's why like the FBI was going after Mr. Beast, is because he was doing stuff with his giveaways that was illegal. And me knowing these small things about how state giveaways work, I can see it too and be like, oh, you can't do that. So like sometimes people do it knowingly and think they can get away with it. Some people do it because they really legitimately do not know. So all I'm saying is, as someone that's been in this business for, what did I say? 13 years? No, 11 years. 11 years? My gosh, I'm old. Yeah, I'm just saying, if you're new, stop listening to other new people because they probably don't know this stuff. I'm just like, listen to people that have been around from the beginning, who had to read all the fine print for everything and didn't have resources to just ask someone how to do something. Because that's what's happening now that I feel like is getting people in trouble, is that when people first started publishing, your source of information was from the places that you were going to publish your books. And so you were getting information direct from the source and not from word of mouth. And it's like the telephone game with people that are coming in, they've gotten their information from someone before them as a shortcut so that they wouldn't have to read through all this details, because who in the world wants to read fine print? Nobody. Unless you're a lawyer person, then I guess you love fine print. But I don't like it. I'm just like, I want to do this. They say I have to hit this button to do this. Okay, I already signed my life away to the military. Might as well do it to publish onto Amazon. Like, I get it. I'm one of you. But yeah, I think that's the problem with the misinformation, is that people are hearing it from a source that they believe to be credible because they are doing well as an author. And so they just assume that that author is correct because they see them on this pedestal as being a success and doing better. And so they take their word as gold, and then they get in trouble because it's a game of telephone. And a lot of these newer, really, really successful authors, they've only been publishing since 2018. That was kind of like the end of the golden age, in my opinion, where it became extremely hard to sell books and to launch books as a newer author. But really it started getting hard, I would say by 2015 is when it started getting hard. It was already saturated. Before that, it was easy because I was around and it was easy. It is not easy now. Not at all. You cannot throw up a book and expect sales. It happens, but it's so rare. Anyway, why am I using? I'm using the remote for my desktop, and I'm on my laptop. I have been on here way too long, but we are almost done. Okay, you've had plenty of time to read that, so we're just going to keep going on here. This is the other thing with the review thing, like giving incentives or giving items away. If people leave the review, that falls under this up here. So anything in exchange for compensation, a review and giving them something, that's compensation for that review. Even if what you're giving them is free, it's compensation. So you got to be very careful. There are ways around this stuff that is legal. It's what you would call a loophole, but I'm not giving them to you because I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not going to be held accountable if you do them and then someone exposes the loophole and then they decide to like specifically say you can't do this loophole, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, so and so did this. I'm not giving you legal advice. Nope. All right. This talking about review abuse and all of that. This applies to you reviewers. They can suspend or ban your account. If you are review bombing authors all the time, they could suspend you, and then they might take all your books for all I know. If they get rid of your account, I mean, I don't know, because your books are data. Like, they have to hold that in their database. So if they get rid of you because you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, maybe they will take all your books. But that would be your fault if you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, like review banning. So just don't do it. Most of the time, you're not going to have these horrible consequences if you're in the right. And if you are, then you can say something and it might be rectified. Not 100%. Like, the world is not perfect. Things do not always go the way they should go. But I've seen a lot of people, when something crappy happens and they really are at no fault, it's been rectified when they've gotten in contact with an actual human. Anyway, okay. This again is just them talking about their stuff, y'all. It's just them talking about their stuff. Okay, so now that I have this on my computer and we've went through all of it, I am going to unshare my screen real quick. Just real quick. I'm still here. I'm just unsharing this because I don't know what I'm going to title it, and you'll be able to see my other Google Doc stuff. I don't know what will pop up, so I'm just going to not have you see any of that. And I am going to make this document public for you all, and I'm going to drop it in the chat. All right. So, let's see here. Copy link, share. I'm going to make it where you can only view it because you don't need to do anything else. All right. Anyone with link. Let's go for that. And you can view it. All right. Done. Then link. Okay, I'm putting it in the chat now. All right. And I have it on my clipboard so that when I end this, I should be able to put it into the description of the video. There is a button on here that has no, that's a layout thing. Never mind. Anyway, now I'm going to check the chat. Wow, 2 hours and 35 minutes. I hope this has been helpful. I know I got a kind of ranty there, but it's important information, and there's just so much fear going around, and not a lot has changed. And there are solutions, but they're not the ones that are being advocated for. So I'm trying to provide a little bit of calm in all the chaos. Okay. Hi. Driving but listening. Okay. This was the best explanation of the issue I've heard. I am a reader, but I will do whatever I must to help protect authors. Thank you. Like, I understand it from both the reader and the author perspective, but I also understand it just as a business. There are ways that businesses have to operate in order to protect themselves. And so Amazon is not, the big bad enemy in everything. There are definitely things that they should be held accountable for, and we can call them out for that. But there are other things that are just industry standard practices where, yeah, we cannot like it. We cannot like it all we want. We can complain about it. But instead of complaining about it, let's actually make real change by figuring out what the solutions are and then rallying together to do that instead of just complaining that we don't like something. Like, let's spread the solutions, not the rage. All right. Oops, author. Yeah, authors are just as bad as readers because we all want something. Okay. I mean, humans, honestly, no one wants to say it, and maybe this makes me sound like a pessimist, but we're all selfish. We're all selfish human beings. And like, I just want us to admit it. I just want us to admit that we're selfish and start to love each other. That's really would make the best version, is if we could just admit that, yeah, we are all bad. Okay, we're all bad in some ways. But when you can see that and you can still love one another and accept the wholeness of a person, I think that makes things a lot better than just seeing everyone as pure evil and out to get you. Like, that's not a good life to live. There are definitely things where we could rally against it. Like, I do not think that certain things should be protected as freedom of speech. I do not think that neo-Nazis should be able to have parades. Like, that is something that me on a personal level, I do not agree with, and I do not think that that should be freedom. But you can acknowledge that and still be like, okay, but if we made that a law and we say we can't have this, then that also means that you could use that same principle to restrict things that you believe are good, like, say, a pride parade. So like, that's the other thing that I think a lot of people have lost, is that when you try to restrict one thing that you see as abhorrent, you are causing restrictions upon yourself and the things that you see as good too, because the law has to be equally applied in all circumstances. I'm not a lawyer, but that is also just the way that I think in my logical head, is that if you have a value or a belief or a rule, a fact is not a fact unless it is always accurate. That is a fact. I think we should at least agree on what the definition of a fact is. A fact is only a fact if it is always a fact. If there's an exception, then it's not a fact. That's why I hate true or false questions. Because if there's an exception, I will put that it is false, even if 99.9% of the time it would be true. Because I am a logical thinker, and that's how part of the OCD for me is that there is a black and white. There's a need for absoluteness, but also like it's not. So with that, okay. So I have very black and white thinking, but it is not black and white thinking in the I have no room for nuance, conversation, or change. That is what I think you call a narcissist, is someone that cannot receive new information and then adjust their view based off of the new information. That is a narcissist to me. Like you don't accept like that's narcissist. Like you just think you're above everything. But I do think that facts are facts, and that we need to start as a society and just as people acknowledging that a fact is something that has to always be applied in order for it to be a fact. Otherwise, it's just something that you think because it aligns with how you want things to be, and that's fine. But facts are facts. Normally I go on and try to explain that. I feel like I've explained that when I talked about the theft thing. Like, it's a fact that you are stealing from an author, even if you have all these reasons why you think it's ethically okay for you to do it. It's still a factual thing that you are stealing. Like, you can't deny that you are stealing. It is just a factual thing. But anyway. I don't see anything else, so I'm going to go ahead and show the link just in case. I don't think anyone's going to type in that big long thing. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the chat. I will try to remember to go put it in the description as soon as I end this. But yeah, that's all I have. I know it was a lot. I am telling you, usually when I post videos like this, and I know there's some controversial takes that I've had in it that people will strongly disagree with, I like make myself listen back through it, because like the post rumination thing is like, let me see if I said everything the perfect way so no one can come at me. And it's like, I can't control how people respond or act. I've given you facts here, and I've given you some of my opinions, but my opinions are formed on facts, not feelings. I really hate the saying, because at this point I feel like it's used more by the people who I disagree with than it is by the people I agree with. And yeah, but it is true. It is true. Facts are not feelings. I hate it. I hate it that it's true, because now it's just a cliche and it could be used and weaponized by people I agree with or disagree with. So I really hate it, but it is true. Facts are facts. Oh my gosh. Okay, that is it. I am going. My voice is hoarse. It is 7 o'clock. I have done nothing productive today but rant on the internet. And I have a friend's book to proofread, and I promised I would do it. And I'm exhausted, and I have not eaten. I have not eaten today. Oh no, I did. I had a couple tater tots. Never mind. I lied, but it wasn't intentional because I literally forgot. Anyway. Okay. Bye. Subscribe! Maybe. I don't care. I mean, I would like someone to watch my videos if I make my voice go out, but, you know, it's whatever. Okay.